Today, we were going to talk about money, right? AI and money, because I think one of the things that we haven't, one of the things we haven't really touched upon is all the different ways that you could make money with Content Maxima, with the data that Content Maxima brings you, and where Rob and I are taking Content Maxima with custom GPTs and AI agents, and then eventually automation. So I want to talk about 6 ways that you guys can make money by joining our community. And most of them are self-explanatory, but maybe some of them you haven't thought of. And we sent this out in the email to invite you to tonight's webinar. But basically, the first thing, which many of you are here for, your web people, your website designers, agencies, you're familiar with funnels and social profiles and all sorts of things like that. You guys have an opportunity to build these elements, these assets for either your own brand, whether it's a personal brand or a business, or you have the opportunity to build these assets for your customer, right? People who pay you every single month for content or for a new website redesign or anything like that. So the first way that you can make money in our community is obviously being a builder, being a creator, selling a service that you were already selling prior to finding us here at the B.A.D Marketers Club and Content Maxima. So first way, again, websites, funnels, social media campaigns, doing the marketing work, right? Building and selling those assets, hopefully on a monthly retainer or in large enough packages that you guys can sustain and have a good, healthy living. The second way that you could make money with Content Maxima is going to be to provide consulting or strategy, right? That's a huge opportunity because it gives you the opportunity to be an expert and not have to execute everything. So because of the data you can get out of Content Maxima, because of the new VECTRA bot, which we will show some more examples of, there's been more questions on that. Rob and I are working on improving our custom GPTs, and we're going to improve VECTRA to basically be a one-click system for you guys. We want you to be able to derive immediate value for whatever it is you're working on with one click. And so we're exploring right now, how do we do that best in the limitations that OpenAI has set up? How do we do that best for different types of tasks? And then we're not only exploring things, but we're up to date day to day what's happening, because crazy things happen. Like, for example, you're here today that OpenAI says they're no longer going to allow medical, legal, and financial advice on their platform. So we don't know fully yet if it's just going to be like a disclaimer that they put in when something's generated with AI, being like, hey, I'm not a medical professional, don't take my advice, or hey, I'm not a financial professional, don't take my advice, or if they're just going to flat out like censor it, right, and just get rid of those conversations completely. I don't think they're going to do that, but ultimately limiting us and censoring us is not very helpful. So I think those major system changes, toss things up in the air right now. So we are building around that, and we're building on the cutting edge, and we're trying things that nobody else is trying. But for you guys, the goal is, hey, we're going to build out a library of bots that will do specific tasks for you very easily using the data generated from Content Maxima, and really help you accomplish more faster. That's our vision. That's our goal. We want to be a catalyst. We don't want to make it more complex, and we sure don't want to bore you. If you don't want to know how the car drives, just get in and drive. You don't have to know. So the third way that you could make money is if you are the builder type, if you are the type that likes to tinker and really likes to learn and really likes to dive deep, you could sell Content Maxima data, as in fine-tuned marketing data sets that could train other businesses, could train their chat bots, could train their customer service bots, could train, research or anything that they're working on internally. I mean, everybody's still exploring and trying to figure AI out. Nobody really is a standout, and I don't think anybody's going to be a standout for a long time, just because the innovation's happening so fast that things you hear about today you won't hear about tomorrow. It's just the way that it is. But the data that we're providing you is super strong, solid data that you then could sell. So the third way that you could generate revenue would be to help other individuals, organizations, brands that are interested in AI to fine tune their AI, to focus it better, to help them narrow the scope down so that they get amazing results. The fourth way would be to build your own AI bots. That's what we're just starting to get into with you guys. We were just showing you VECTRA as we're just kind of coming to market with this too. It's all happening and emerging at the same time as you guys. So we're learning in front of you guys. That's why we want you to test these systems out and try them, because your feedback is so helpful in us being able to develop them into something that's really ultimately helpful and will push you forward no matter what you're doing. So, but keep in mind, as we're teaching this stuff, there is the opportunity, if you are the builder type, to build your own bots. Now, if you're not that type, you want the easy, that's fine. We will be able to help you sell different services, right? Could be SEO, could be content, could be landing pages, could be video, could be imagery. It could be anything that you might need in the marketing and advertising space, maybe a little bit into operations and financial if we're allowed to with OpenAI. But essentially, we want to have bots that do things for you so that you can take your client's data, take our data, put them together into a bot, click a button, and get profound insights that you can then execute against. So, we will have a library of bots that we continue to build out for you guys. Right now, there'll be custom GPTs, but tomorrow I might have to decide with Rob, we're not going to do custom GPTs anymore. We're not getting the results that we want for you guys. So we're going to switch to Google Gems, or we're going to do Claude artifacts or whatever. We're still very much figuring out the different platforms and which ones could really work. We're focused on custom GPTs right now just because everybody seems to have Chat GPT, but they have the biggest market share of the new AI tools, but they're for sure not the only one, and they're not the best. In a lot of ways, they're really dropping the ball lately. So the shift of power is real. And like I said, every couple days, things are changing. So anyways, we'll give you some done for you type services through brand Helix, the store, the sister store that Rob has up. And we will also give you the done for you abilities with our robots, right? To help you through whatever marketing, advertising, business tasks that you have. Final way will be affiliate. We haven't seen a lot of sign up yet for affiliate, which is totally fine and expected. We're just getting this going, but we do want to remind you that you can promote our framework, our software, our group here, and you can actually get paid and collect commission for life. So if you are interested in becoming an affiliate, you can scroll down to the bottom of the Content Maxima website, and there's an affiliate link and you can sign up. So those 6 ways are the ways right now that we see our community being able to generate revenue. And as we develop these bots further, and as we learn more about the different AIs together, we'll keep building you different avenues where you can make money. And our hope with things like the VECTRA bot and the whole prompt library is that each one of those, because essentially each one operates like a different robot, we might turn those into individual robots each at one point. Maybe you guys will vote or decide which bots we would like to see, and we'll prioritize those for the community. But ultimately, you'll be able to use those to execute something like a pay-per-click ad campaign or a landing page build or a SEO audit or whatever it might be. And then you can get paid for the work. You know that the bot that you're using is highly trained in that area, that expertise, and so you can sleep easy at night that you're going to get the results that you're hoping for. So a little bit of visionary talk here because I'm not sharing my screen. Rob, if you don't mind, at some point here, you share your screen and I'll give you a couple links. Let's see here. I need to get you the link to VECTRA and the link to the prompt library. Those of you who are here right now, if you have a question, if you're working on something, please speak up. Let us know, and then we can maybe cater the content live to you in your industry or niche. If we don't have anything from anyone, we'll just have to make something up as we go. So Rob, there is the prompt library link coming at you, and then I'm going to get you the custom GPT link, and I can even show you, excuse me, I can even show you another GPT I'm working on that I don't have fully done for you, but could be fun to use. That's if we want to do something experimental. All right, so this is the vector URL coming at you so that we can run some prompts to align with anybody's questions, industry, niche. And then I will jump back and I will give you an experimental bot that you've been asking me for, but I haven't quite cracked yet.
Works for me. I like to break stuff. You know how I am, dude.
Exactly. All right, so I don't see any questions or comments at the moment. I'm going to check the Q&A quick. All right, so that's fine. So what we'd like to do is, because there's a lot of questions about the VECTRA custom GPT, there's a lot of questions about what can be done, what should be done, how to do it. We just want to start to use the VECTRA custom GPT in front of you guys to not only show you its power, but then again to learn from your different industries, from your different niches, from your different services and business types and products and all that stuff. So really, we can pick anything we want out of the prompt library, Rob, as a demo. I think the pay-per-click, like I think it's number 54 under marketing and advertising, is keyword mapping, which is a nice one to demo because it outputs a really nice report for people. We could also
Keyword bidding?
Keyword bidding strategies, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, I can do that one.
Yeah, download that one and let's run that. We may have run it before, but I just think it's a nice one to run because ultimately what we're trying to do and what we're trying to iron out across all these different custom GPTs that we want to build is we want you to be able to drag in your Content Maxima files to focus the AI and train it and fine tune it for a specific industry and niche. We want you to bring in your business information, right? Your NAP, your business name, address, phone number, your unique selling propositions, your services, your products, your tone, all that stuff. We want you to be able to layer that in here, but ultimately, we just want it to be one prompt that gives you a report or a step-by-step or some sort of tangible that you can download and then immediately, go work with it, go do damage, go make improvements. So this keyword bidding strategies one is just a nice one that spits out a nice report, and we'd like to get all of these functioning in a way where once you upload your files, maybe you answer 1, 2, 3 questions tops. We don't want to make it a full interview, but let's then you can, I guess, expand upon that initial document or that initial report of value. You can decide, oh, well, I need another column, or I need something else. But ultimately, we don't even want you to think about what you need until you can get a really robust report or task completed for you almost automatically. So that's the goal. So Rob, you need some sample data. Is that what you have that up for?
Yeah, I didn't know if you want me to run some or if you had some you want me to throw in there.
I can give you some quickly over Slack just so you don't have to run them. That's
Okay.
another thing we should mention to everybody is at some point here, Rob is working on this, but we are going to add another button to Content Maxima's interface. But we are going to create a button that allows you to automatically run all 6 reports in one swoop. And the reason that's important is we want to save you time now that we're realizing that the files we made for marketing, advertising, and strategy can be used to train the AI. And now that we're trying to build these different AI chatbots and AI agents, we need a quicker way to harvest all that data. So that button will just allow you to put in your, I guess, idea, concept, entity, top level keyword, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever it is you're trying to build authority, rank, and dominate, you'll put it in there. It'll spit out all those reports for you. Obviously, it'll take some time because it's going to be running the entire software suite autonomously. So that's what Rob's been working on and building. We don't have a release date for that just yet. Right now, you'll have to manually run these reports. But the goal is eventually to save you time and to allow you to train faster, if that makes sense, to fine tune faster. So I just sent you 6 tree service files, Rob.
Okay.
So
Let
that
me
way we
download
have it
them.
as an example. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people in here are familiar with tree service and plumbing and HVAC. So we'll stick to the home services that are universally applicable.
Yep. So then I'll hit start and then upload them there. Is that how you normally do it?
You can click start. Go ahead and drag the
Yep.
files in though. You can just skip the start button and just drag your files in. It'll confirm they're loaded. And then once it confirms that they're loaded, then you'll click and drag your prompt in. And you do have to tell it to do something with that prompt because otherwise it'll just kind of say, okay, got it. Like you're gonna say, okay, we'll run it. So there Rob goes, drags his files in.
Okay. So now I drag in the prompt we wanted, right?
Yeah, drag in the prompt, and then like I said, I would just accompany it with a very simple command like do this. I usually say do this prompt, but if you just say do this or this prompt or just give it, you just have to give it enough intent that you want it to run this and not just look at it, is I guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it might spit back. Let me increase the screen size so I can look a little bit better, but it might, yeah, it spits back a couple questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is answer.
Please confirm your target persona. Let's do. What do we
Because
want
the
to do?
one I gave it, Rob, just to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
was like golf course owners was the
Okay.
persona I believe that I had. Yes, golf
So
course
we'll go with
owners.
that.
Yep. But obviously that would be your chance to change that, or we'll get talking about this in the future. But there is an opportunity to make a more general data set that's not to a specific persona. But we always have just found it's best to speak to a specific persona. Not for everything in marketing, but most of the time people aren't, and that's why they're not aligning their message to a paying customer. So, all right, let's take a browse over this here.
Okay, we got the keyword bidding strategy. Insight. So who we're going after, what their motivations are, their pain points, decision drivers. So what tone we want to talk to them about. And then here's how you do your return on ad spend. specific profitability threshold, commercial jobs, sustainable tree service engagements, for manual bid adjustments. So it says like 15% of it should be from desktop, which makes sense.
Right. So it's telling you which devices to be advertising on or how to skew your budget, right? If you are setting up a budget for tree service, you would skew the budget to display 15% more often than your mobile phone.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting too. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it, but to target during working hours, because that's when a manager would actually be working versus just, you know what I mean, depending on who you're targeting. Does that make sense?
Perfect. So you set on your campaigns, you set a window of time where you're actually going to be advertising. That way you're not wasting your money, because golf managers are not going to be up at, 2 a.m. You shouldn't be advertising then.
Right. And also it says during weekdays, which makes sense.
Perfect.
High intent triggers. So these are their bid priority keywords. And then link semantics for smart match optimization. So commercial, landscape safety, turf and tree maintenance, certified tree management. These clusters
ISA certified. Do you see that one, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's going to pull in association or certificate or qualifications from your industry to list for credibility purposes, for building your authority. And what's funny, Rob and I talk about this, but including, like, let's say you're not ISA certified, right? You could still include the ISA certification as a resource on your website or in your marketing campaigns, right? To get that entity or that idea in your messaging. So we always like to mention that sometimes, mentioning a primary idea like that word there or that certification, you could even say something negative, right? Or contrarian, like, I am not ISA certified. Now that's not what the ideal customer is going to be looking for. I'm using this just as an example of how could you talk about something that you aren't interested in or aren't qualified and get that word in your marketing message, because it may be a triggering element or a trigger word to the algorithms. They're going to be looking for people who are ISA certified. Anyways, side tangent.
Yeah. Picture greens. Include before and after visuals in your ads. Free site evaluations to capture their data. Link to a landing page with your references, stuff like that. Looking for a phone call or submission. Request for multi-course contract.
So keep going down, and I think at some point it'll start to write some example ads for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, here it is. Sorry.
Like sample ad copy. So golf course tree removal experts, ISA certified. Obviously, people are looking for that certification. Again, I'm not familiar with what that is, but we could look it up for sure. An ISA certified arborist. So it's obviously it's a national accreditation board. That's what it is. So if you are in tree removal, if you are an arborist, this would be the certification that you would want to have to prove to the world that you're on the same standards as all of the best companies, right? These associations are a lot more than just a badge. Obviously, many of them provide support to those specific business types. Many of them do live trade shows and educational seminars and get-togethers and stuff like that. So these trade associations are obviously huge in home services, huge in most industries. Most niches have somebody or something that you can link yourself to, right? You associate yourself to that association, and that makes you more reputable because this is the association for arborists.
And then here's where you could A/B test. So you could do safety and certification or ROI and efficiency in your messaging. Golf course tree service. Build remarketing list from commercial page visitors.
So a lot of stuff here to read over, but the biggest message to all of this is, what did you really do, Rob?
Click some
Not
buttons.
too much. Yeah, not too much. You dragged in our data set from the software, and you basically dragged in a prompt, and then this is an amazing starting point. So if you had an appointment tomorrow with an arborist, you've never worked with an arborist, you need to speak their language real quick. You need your pitch to be, something that really hits for them and really resonates. You could come into VECTRA, you could output some reports quickly in Content Maxima, which is, like I said, 3.5 minutes when I did it manually. Rob will save you the 3.5 minutes when he puts the new button in eventually. But yeah, a couple clicks, and now you have this amazing starting point that you then could customize to the customer. You know that they're not going to spend more than $2,500 a month to start working with you, or you know that they're in a specific geolocation and they're targeting even specific courses. They're trying to win them over as customers, right? So maybe you're not just running an ad campaign, you're running an ad campaign that's targeting even more specific areas. Maybe you're doing like geofencing. I mean, there's so many things that could be done to the customer's preference, but you have to have that starting point to start the conversation. And I don't know about you guys, but when I have an initial conversation, I want to leave them with something that they no longer are going to worry. And I feel like if I copy and pasted this, printed it out, and I left it at my meeting and I said, hey, this is where I would go with your business. This is how I would handle your pay-per-click. And this is just an initial draft. We, of course, could make changes, but I don't think they're going to question that something that they don't. I don't think they're going to not give you a shot. I don't think that, if you truly have never done this stuff before, if you're hiring an outsourcing team, or if you have some sort of, executor, for, a VA or marketing assistant or something like that, giving them this is going to give them that hand-holding guidance, because even they might not be the best at pay-per-click. They might not know all these little tips and tricks, but you know what? If in this report, it says to advertise on desktop 15% more for this particular service, that assistant can go in and figure out how to make those settings, how to make those changes in pay-per-click, even if they're not a pay-per-click expert, because as you guys know, with AI, you can ask it questions. So you could even, it's not what VECTRA was built for, but you could even say to it, okay, great, I want to make that one single change of my budget. I want to add 15% more to desktop display ads than mobile. How do I do it? It does a pretty good job of walking you through. Sometimes it misses, but I find another quick tip for you guys is, if you're trying to work on a particular platform or on a particular task or in any vertical, if you can go to that software's website or that social media platform's terms and conditions or user guide, or if you're doing programming, if you can link the AI to the library of all the programming assets, right? It learns and focuses so much better, and the result you get back from it is so much better, because now you've said, hey, I want you to code Python and I want you to use this, library of code over here. Otherwise, it just has to say, okay, well, I know enough Python that I can help you code, and then it decides where it should focus and what it should do. But if you give it those extra little pieces of information, those layers of data, you'll get better outputs. And again, the idea behind VECTRA is to get you, call it 75% of the way, 80% of the way to something tangible that you can execute, that you can go win more business with, that you can impress people, that you can quickly convert into a pitch. Like, get rid of all of the busy work and just streamline your pitch process to land more customers. And then once you've landed those customers, well, what do? You run the steps that are outlined here. And of course, at any point in time, you can have conversations to add or remove things or modify things or change things to the client's preferences. So questions, comments? Did I explain it good enough, Rob? Well enough? All right. So we are going to be building a lot more custom GPTs. So VECTRA, the reason we had to build VECTRA the way that we did it is we've come to find out you can't just pop hundreds of different types of robots. That's what I've been trying to do, or hundreds of custom GPTs at a time. OpenAI throttles you. Not only do they throttle you on the number of robots you could create, but they also the number of files that you upload, that you change and delete, and you know, you have a certain number per hour that you can essentially click and drag into OpenAI, and that's both the front end and the back end. So I'm learning this. I've hit the text limits, the image limits. Now I'm hitting the file limits. So there's obviously, it's not this open platform. There are caps and limitations to everything. But as we work through those caps and limitations, we hope to convert each of these prompt types of VECTRA into an individual custom GPT that's specializing in that particular type of task. So that when you guys are not sure what to do, or you have different tasks to do, you'll be able to come into the Content Maxima members area. You'll be able to go to that prompt library and say, okay, I got to do pay-per-click stuff. I got to do social stuff. I got to do this other stuff. And you'll be able to quickly run these different reports and get yourself on track and get yourself the results you're looking for. So if you want to show anything else, Rob, there, I don't know what you're
I've just
looking
gone
at.
through, well, when it asked me, so when we went through all these keyword clusters and all that, what did it ask me? It said, would you like to generate a ready to deploy ad group and keyword strategy? I just said, yeah. And what it does is it shows you like the different ad groups you could do. So golf course tree removal is a group. Here's the keywords for that group with their intent and the type of landing page. So it helps you know what type of landing page to match your, what the ad's going after. And then like for our maintenance, so more than emergency, right? So this is like kind of, you know, I've got a tree down, I need it now, versus maintenance. So the trimming, the pruning, stuff like that, you'd have a slightly different, an ad group or a slightly different, obviously you don't want to run an ad for emergency tree removal and it go to a monthly maintenance on trimming, right? So it's kind of, it's breaking down how to break those apart. Here's just for a specific, for certified, like, so you want to go to your credentials page based on what your ads are, and then like tree hazards. So like if there's a tree hazard, so one's not fallen, but it looks like it could, right? Then you've got for risk mitigation or inspection. So you could come and inspect, are there any trees they need to worry about? And then just landscape improvement, stuff like that. And it goes through and it basically showed me different, based on which one of those, which ad variations you can use. And then it gives you some good monitoring to say, where should I look at? Keep an eye on the CTR. If it drops, try to change the different, the copy or the triggers and stuff like that. It tells you how to do the smart bidding, A/B testing, you know, stuff like that. For how to, once you get into doing it, how to set it up. And it said, you want me to do a download just in a little CSV. So I told it, yeah, go ahead and make that. And it tells you like, here's your ad group, right? Here's kind of the keywords for that ad group and the type of landing page, the focus, what you should be looking for. This one's 15% desktop and 20% geo. So you want to target it higher in those type of deals. And just, it basically laid out the different ad groups, the keywords to put in that ad group cluster. And then what's the, like this is for the high intent. This is more for recurring. This is more for risk mitigation. And this is for to make it beautified, right? So it kind of has different, the intent clusters based on which ad group you're going after. And then the next thing it asked me to do ad copy. So I said, yeah, give me some example ad copy. I'm going to do that. And here's some of the different ad group. So for the ad group, certified tree experts, tree hazard removal, for the maintenance, golf course, tree trimming and care, and your different headlines for those type of things. So different, it gives you kind of like starting points for ad copy and that kind of stuff too. For someone who doesn't know anything about Google Ads, I'll be honest to tell you that this, just by running these and looking at the data it gives me, I would feel comfortable going in and saying, like, here's what we can do, here's where we'd start, and get your foot in the door and say, this is what we're going to be working on. Basically, it's kind of how I look at this.
And for the record, just so everybody knows, you said yes like 3 times, basically.
Yeah.
So you really haven't done much, Rob. That's the point I'm getting to.
Oh, look, and it says, do you want me to do a negative keyword list?
Right. So it's going to literally walk you through every critical element that you would need to execute this campaign. So negative keywords, if you guys don't know what those are, just it's a list of terms that you don't want to pay for. So a good example is I sell event equipment. I want people who want to buy event equipment. I don't want people who rent event equipment. That's not my target customer. So in my negative keyword list, I put things like rental, right? To try to get rid of the rental customers that I'm not interested in working with. So it's just an opportunity to control your campaigns, and it helps minimize excess spend, because Google and really any of these big tech companies, Facebook, etc., they love to spend your money. Like if you let them, they will spend your money. They will find a way. They will find some obscure customer that they claim is a fit who's not a fit so that they can blow your ad budget. It's just how it is. So you putting in those guardrails helps you keep everything on track. And the fact that the system is even giving you that is incredible, because again, we're not ever claiming here to be pay-per-click ad experts, but the fact that it's outputting some of these files and CSVs that you could then even go upload. We all know you can do things in batches and bulks on these advertising platforms. You and I might not know how to do it, but we find the right person who does, and we say, hey, here's the list that you should bulk upload in there.
Yeah, like for example, these are like, because if you, like our persona was golf, or whatever you call it, for golf courses, managers. You don't want someone looking for cheap or DIY or residential or free or tree planting tips. You know what I mean? So that way that you're telling Google, don't show my ad if they use these terms. So basically, you get rid of, it's helping you narrow down the focus of who your ads will be shown to effectively.
So the only other lesson in this, because it's something that I didn't teach well enough the first time, because I kind of dropped this VECTRA bot into people's laps and said, hey, this is what we're working on. And it was like, oh my gosh, is VECTRA will have to ask you some questions. But the secret is to do one thing at a time, because sometimes it'll offer you 3-4 different options and all of them sound good. And you'll say, okay, I want to do all of them. And the problem with that is you'll start to go down, one road. And, the example I've used before, I'll try to use it again, and Rob can maybe even help me, is like if we're ordering at a restaurant, a chef's table, and you're a chef, and I order the chicken, they're going to ask me, well, how do you want the chicken, sir? Do you want it, baked? Do you want it grilled? Do you want it fried? So it's going to have all those questions about the chicken. So if when I first am ordering, say to it, I want the chicken and the beef and the shrimp and the pork and the vegetable plate, I want all these different plates, then it has to ask me, okay, well, on that vegetable plate, do you want the cucumbers and the green beans or no? And like, it's going to have all of these additional questions for each decision you make, right? So if you simultaneously open all of the floodgates and get trying to do too many things at once, you will push the custom GPT. This is not just VECTRA. This is how OpenAI's system works. Like, and AIs in general work. They'll start to drift because they get too overloaded. So the tip of advice, what we try to encourage everyone to do, is to just take it step by step. If there's something that you want to do that it's suggested, you can always come back to it. Or if it's giving you a couple options, it's saying, hey Ed, do you want the chocolate, the vanilla, or the strawberry? And I say I want all of them. I could say, let's do the chocolate right now, but remind me that I want to do the vanilla and the strawberry too when we're done. So that way I don't even have to remember that I do want to do that, but I'm just not ready yet. So try to take it in smaller, digestible chunks and steps, and then you'll get better results because there'll be less, the scope will be narrowed in, the focus will be narrowed in, there'll be less distracting elements, and it won't catch itself in a loop. And you will notice if you start to use Vectra for too long, and this is true of any chat, any AI, but the length at which they can process and remember starts to dwindle or truncate or crop or get less and less. So it'll start to forget things that you were just talking to it about. And you'll say, well, gosh, I just told it X, Y, and Z, and now it's not listening to me. And it's simply because we've introduced too much into the large language model. Because again, these are not true AI. And Rob can probably better explain this than I can, but these are large language models. So if we had to boil it down and explain it to a grade school kid, we would say these are like pattern generators. So the more information you give it, I don't want to say the harder it is to find patterns, but the more patterns there are, the more noise, the more distractions there are. So the LLM becomes less focused and you get less accurate results, you get less powerful results. Whereas if you have it extremely focused and you keep it in line and you take it step by step, you really are controlling it and preventing it. You're keeping it kind of on a leash and preventing it from running off. So again,
Yeah,
there's
here's an
no way.
example for this,
Go ahead,
the one
Rob.
that we just did. So like here where I did golf course owner, right? So it says, which persona would you like to target? If I would have said all of these, right? Well, we know that if you're trying to target everything, then you're targeting nothing, right? That's something I always say. If you're trying to target everybody, then you're targeting nobody, right? So if I would say, yeah, I want to do golf owners, managers, property developers, municipal buyers, and I tell it to do all 5 of them, what happens is it pulls in all 5 of those personas, and now it's trying to merge them into one persona and run ad. So it tries to give you an ad that would hit every single person. So then by doing that, you less focus on a single person, and it's trying to combine it into one almost. So it starts doing all of these. So then as a language model, now it's got all that corpus of information that it's churning over. So then it can't be focused on the one person at a time for this exact example, basically, if I'm trying to just keep with the example we were using.
Yep. And this is exactly why the content maxima data works. It's for the same exact reason. We're giving AI enough to chew on, enough to focus it. We're narrowing the scope. We're preventing it from paying attention to its whole universe. Because if you remember, when OpenAI first released ChatGPT, they said that it had read 15% of the internet. That's a ton. That's like over 60 billion documents, right? Even though it doesn't know everything, it knows way more than any of us and has seen way more than any of us. But the problem is the accuracy drifts because its knowledge base is that big, and that was just when it started. We know now it's been, there's new models, and there's, your data and my data and our conversations are training this. So it's constantly changing, and by giving it content maxima files, you're refocusing its initiative. And that's why the results we get are better, because you're just putting the blinders on it in the race.
Yeah, you're keeping it focused on the data that you're trying to work on. And if you just open it to everything, then it starts to pull from everything. So that's the power of being focused on one thing and feeding it the data. Because like here where it says, okay, so we're going to work on doing tree ads by a golf course owner. Well, if it tried to do tree ads for golf course owner, property manager, whatever the others ones were, property developer and municipal buyer, it'll start to merge all of those. So now it's trying to do 7 things at once. And when it does that, it starts to, they bleed into each other. It's kind of how I would say it. It'd be like if you order an appetizer, right? To go back to your food analogy, if I order every single appetizer on the menu and I throw them all on the same plate, Well, now they're all bleeding in each other. So yeah, you might have had a taco, but now it's got some of the hot sauce from the chicken wings that were on the same plate because it's trying to give you everything all at the same time, right? And it tries to keep them separated, so it puts the chicken on this side, the taco here, the nachos there, but then there's bleed between the two, so they start to you start to blend the flavors. If we use the food analogy, where you're going to have a taco, but it's got a little bit of a buffalo chicken taste to it, and you're like, what in the heck? Why is this taco got buffalo chicken taste? Well, it's no different than if you say I want to focus on golf course owners and municipal buyers. So now it's going to bleed in. You're going to have, yeah, it might be sort of focused on a golf course owner, but then it's got a little bit of bleed of like utility companies because it's pulling municipal people as well. So it might be running ads of saying, well, if you're a golf course owner, you got a tree next to a power line. You're like, wait, I want golf course. Why am I worrying about a power line? Well, that's because you told it I want golf course owners and municipal people, right? So now it's trying to say, okay, well, it wants both of those. So maybe they're doing ads for both, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm kind of going to mix both of the things together, and it's not really that it's drifting. It's trying to answer what you asked it, and you're saying, yeah, I want to do ads for everybody at once. So
Better explanation, yeah.
that's kind of how I look at it. Is you want to focus on first. Let's order the buffalo chicken wings. Let's get those on a plate. Get them ordered. Get that strategy in place. And now I say, okay, let me try your tacos, and then and then we go down that lane. So it comes on a different plate. I don't want it all just melted all at the exact same time. I want to focus on one thing. Once I'm done with that, I'll move to the next one, right? So that's kind of how I think about it. I guess it'd be, to make it even worse, it'd be like ordering your ice cream and your, buffalo chicken wings at the
Spaghetti.
same time. They come on the same plate. Now you got buffalo flavored ice cream. You're like, what the heck, right? If you get too many things going, then it's really jacked up. So you got hot
We
fudge
used
covered
to,
chicken wings. So
yeah, as kids, Rob, right? We would hit the soda machines and like Taco Bell's and McDonald's and what make
yeah,
swamp water, every single flavor up and down
yeah,
the,
just every flavor.
yeah,
And now it's like, oh, that's
every flavor.
wild. That's kind of weird. So yeah,
And that's why it looks brown or green or whatever and doesn't really taste too good because
yeah. So that's why when it's asking you this question, it's trying to, because we gave it the data to focus. And then when it says, okay, well, which of these, you gave me data for these things, which one do you want me to focus on? And if you say all of them, well, basically you've just unfocused it by saying, okay, well, don't focus on one thing that I have data on. Now focus on all of them, merge them together. So you end up with, hot fudge flavored chicken wings. And you're like, what the heck? This thing sucks, right? So
yep.
you got to maintain it on your side. You got to maintain your columns of what you're focusing on, right? And the
And we'll
SEO industry,
continue
it's kind
from
of like
our
you don't
side
want to,
to
yeah, you don't want to do like search engine optimization and conversion rate and, you know, coloring all in the exact same time at the exact same thing when you're working on it, because they all have a little bit differences in what you're trying to focus. So do one, get that lined out, and then do the other. And you know what I mean? So that's how Rob's brain processes it, at least. I
it's a great way to think about
compartmentalize.
it. Well, I can visualize that, like, my appetizers bleeding into one another and not wanting that, because again, I might not want the soggy taco with the chicken wing sauce on it. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think it resonates. It resonates for people.
yeah.
Um,
And
so
that's
yeah,
what I've
if
noticed a lot when I'm using things. If I start to get too many things going at once, and that's why I'm also a high proponent on, once I go through here and I want to work on something else, I'll open up a whole brand new, whatever you call it,
chat,
chat.
yeah.
I'll open a brand new chat and then start fresh instead of trying to say,
Hmm.
okay, now let's focus on, we did Google ads. It already has my 6 files. Now I'll just upload a different prompt and say, now run this one, right?
And if you
Personally, I
did
would
want
start
to
fresh.
bring the stuff over, Rob, you could copy the parts of the output that you want to use in your next conversation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bring
So
those
like
parts over. Yeah.
if I did this, right? So I said, okay, well, I want to now focus on whatever. If I go to one of these other strategies, so if we got B-word strategy or bidding strategy, go in here, and then maybe I want to focus on copywriting and A/B testing, right? So I can say I'm going to run this, but I want to include these ad groups because I like the way these ad groups. And then I can say run my A/B testing and include this type of ad group strategy. So now I can start to take pieces and build what I'm trying to accomplish instead of just keep throwing it all into the same chat. Because if you throw it all in the same chat, you're going to end up with you know, a mixed up soda drink from Taco Bell that's got every flavor in the cup.
Yep.
No matter if you even tried to rinse it out, right? I'll use sweet tea and unsweet tea as an example. I go and I can't stand, well, I can't say I can't stand. I don't really like sweet tea, right? I can drink it if I have to. But if I go to McDonald's and they give me sweet tea and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, and they just dump it out and then they put unsweet tea in the same cup, it's still sweet. I can taste it, right? So it's kind of like start with a fresh cup, start with a fresh prompt, bring in the pieces you want, right? Don't reuse the ice, don't reuse the, it had sweet tea in it because I can taste it. Even though they tell me I can't, I'm like, no, I can taste it, right? Pull in the pieces you want from this chat, start a new one, and then say, I want to do, here's my files, here's what I want to execute, and then here's some of the ad groups that I like and I've narrowed down, and now build off of that. So you start with a fresh palette.
So the Vectra framework can act like all these different bots and do all these different tasks because of its prompt library. And to Rob's point, you're just kind of cherry picking. You go down one road a little bit, you take what you could get out of it. You go down another road, take what you can get out of it. Then you guys can start to put things together. And this is a great way for those of you who are not builders natively to not stress out like, am I going to build something good enough or is it going to be the right way? Now you have a bot that's been trained to do things the right way, and it's just going to be you using your human element, your knowledge, your experience to be like, you know what, I like that. I like that. And to Rob's point, sampling it and starting to bring it together. And that's the whole message and lesson of, intelligence stacking, right? That we keep talking about, this stacking of marketing intelligence files. There's layers to this, and you'll get used to using it, and you'll get better at it. With about 25 minutes left here, Rob, I don't know how it'll go. I want to
Mm-hmm.
show you what I've been working on and see. I don't think the output's as
This
good as
one.
Susan's. Yeah. So I have this money mapper, as I'm calling it. We can name it whatever we want, but in short, this is a um, content or authority mapping, an editorial calendar, right, of information. So if you need a strategy, been working on this custom GPT that you'll upload your content Maxima files into, and then it will give you hundreds of pieces organized into pillars with the right types of keywords and stuff to utilize. I think where I'm falling short right now is just fighting it on formatting and when and how to use the data. Susan's version of this was a
Mm-hmm.
lot better, but it also could just be chat right now because everyone I talk to, I just had a couple other conversations with people today. More and more people are jumping off of chat for the writing and are using Claude and using other things. So we just have to watch the models and the platforms. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think OpenAI is bad, but I do think right now with GPT-5, it's maybe not what it could be. So this is another thing that people need to realize on any of these custom GPTs. OpenAI just gave you the opportunity to change the model. So if Rob will demo this in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little drop-down arrow. So if you're using Vectra or if you're using one of our other bots or anybody's GPT, you can come in here and you can decide which model. And sometimes just by you taking control and changing it from GPT-5 to 4.0, you'll get much better results because 4.0, for the record, is OpenAI's like flagship right now. That is the go-to model for virtually everything. GPT-5 basically decides if you should use 4.0 or one of the other models. That's kind of how functionally to boil it down. So I don't love GPT-5 because it gets thinking about using all these other models when ultimately I would just be like, just use the really good model that you already have. So, anyways, you can change them. So
So do I
you are
start by uploading
uploading.
these 6?
Yeah, so I want to see if it's going to ask you for credentials. It may or may not. I was trying to get it to ping you, but let's see what it does. Because we first want to make sure members have access to these things. So let's see what happens. It's going to ask you. It's maybe going to bypass it. So it tells you it has
Mm-hmm.
everything, right?
Would you like this calendar formatted for Google Sheets or Excel? Let's do Excel. I'm an Excel guy myself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we can take a look. And so what I've been working on is this output file, trying to make it as best as possible, not having repetitive ideas, which obviously we're seeing repetition in article titles, making the keywords all sorts of funky. So I gotta realign that.
So I'm gonna try something real quick.
Sure thing.
Where's it at? There we go. So now I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I've made it do 4.0.
Okay.
I have a theory, so we'll see
Okay, we like theories, Rob. You'll definitely see difference in results. There's no question about that. But I still wonder what your theory is.
Well, I'll tell you here in a second. I'm holding. Come on. Please hold. Okay.
It's going to make you wait.
Go faster.
At least it's actually analyzing. Half the time, OpenAI, when it bugs out, it'll be like, please hold, and then it'll just actually stop working. I'm sure people have seen this before. And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
you told me you were working.
Yeah.
Testing your patience, too.
Yeah.
There it is. We'll take a look at the two different outputs.
Sorry, I was just reading what that said.
All right.
So how many did it give me? 201.
That looks so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Except
Yeah.
I don't know what the title. Effort poll campaign. Okay, who? I don't know where I got that. I'll have to work on
That's
that.
pretty wild.
But the article title, obviously, we need to work on. But the pillar, so where it goes under. So here's like aesthetics and safety and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like your tree health, tree inspection, wood chipping surveys and stuff like that. What type of journey stage? It would be these are more loyalty, right? Where you can give, hey, we're going to come, we're going to do hazard inspections, things like that. Here's retention. So like your maintenance plans, tree topping, tree protection. So it's more in the retention phase of someone who you already have. Conversion is if you're trying to do, you're trying to be their landscape management or a consultant. So you're trying to convert them if they're looking for someone. Yeah, the URL and the article title is really
Are
funny.
pretty wonky at the moment, but we'll fix those.
Yeah. But here's my theory, right? So all I did, dang it, I keep clicking the wrong buttons. All I did is I changed this one to run in 4.0 instead of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And 4.0, in my opinion, is more their, like you said, their flagship / it just goes and does the research based on what you said.
Yep.
5 tends to try to interpret what you said and redefine what you said into what it thinks you said, and then goes and does what it thinks you think you tried to say.
Right.
That's what
And
I
that's
mean. I
and
know
that's
that's
where
a
all
lot of
the
words, but that's where I think that 5 always it drifts a lot more, which is why I think it's a struggle to try to in some of these things, even with the API when we were doing 5, right?
mm-hmm.
Remember when I was testing 5 and
That
the
was awful.
outputs were just struck because even though I sent the exact same prompt, I'd ask the exact same question the exact same way every time. 5 would say, okay, here's the question. Here's what I think they're asking. Here's what I'm going to format what they're asking and what I think they're trying to ask, and then give me a result. So
Yeah, and
it's almost like it thinks
it's
through
the
my
game of
prompt.
telephone. No, that's
Yeah,
what you need to say, Rob. It's a game of telephone. Instead of me giving you a command and you doing it, I had to pass it down 8 people down the log, and you at the end heard something that I didn't say because somebody along the way switched what I said, and the
yeah,
color
their
of my
thinking
shirt is
model.
red, and you think it's purple now.
Yes, their thinking model. So they call 5 the thinking model. And it tries to think about what you think you asked it and say, did this person really ask what I think they asked? Instead of just doing what I said, it tries to reason what it thinks you were trying to get to by what you said. And that's different every time you run the same. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I've tested, I'll ask the same question in 4, 5.0, think a lot, and it ends up giving me different outputs based on how it thinks about what I was trying to
So
say.
here's the other
That's
side
my
of what
guess
Rob's
again.
saying on this too, is we have told the AI exactly how to think, how to look at things, a certain process. We taught it for all of our content Maxima modules. We taught it to follow certain SOPs and processes to get the same consistent result. To Rob's point, when some of these thinking models first came out, because there were ones before GPT-5, there's ones like O3, where it's
Yeah,
an
you could pick a bunch of.
amazing brainstorming buddy. Like if I was trying to come up with as many ideas as I possibly could, I want that thinking model because it's going to really go broad and really go deep. But then when you run Content Maxima on it, and Content Maxima was built by us and engineered to follow this very specific format, then it would run through our very specific format and it would come back with a bunch of garbage because it was thinking at points it shouldn't have been thinking. Instead of just following directions, it decided, well, I'm not going to follow his directions. I'm going to reword his directions. And that's where it just continuously went wrong time and time again. So, yeah, those thinking models like O3, GPT-5, for sure don't work as well because they're not listening. They're interpreting, like Rob said.
Yeah, and I think that's what is happening. So we might want to even play with that, like try to mess with one on 4.0 and then mess with one on 5
Well,
and
I
see
didn't
what
want
it.
to say anything, but that's exactly what I've been noticing. And I've
Yeah,
been experimenting on all of these things to try to get the absolute best results for everybody. So, yeah, I would just, if I was in your shoes, any GPT, not just ours here, but if you're using your own GPT, somebody else gives you a GPT, like go to 4.0 and see if it does better. I think it will.
yeah. My other theory is the more it trains, the worse it gets.
Yeah,
Just
we got
AI
to
in
save
general.
that for another day. We don't have enough time
Yeah,
for that
I
today.
won't have time for that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's fascinating stuff, and that's really good to see here too, because I think it's a nice way to troubleshoot. Because again, the systems we give you guys, the other systems you come across, what's out there as you experiment, like none of these things are perfect. And again, these are changing every single day. When I first started watching AI, I was like, oh, things are updating so fast. Like once every month, there's something new. Now you can't even go a couple hours, and they're at each other's throats. It's for sure AI warfare out there.
see, I'm gonna act like I'm gonna hide this the titles because they're jank. But if you look at what it did here, so you've got your category. So these all kind of fall under the tree health side,
Yep.
right? And these all make sense for tree health. Treatment, the topping, the thinning, risk assessment, protection, preservation, tree nutrition,
That's
right?
beautiful. Yeah.
So these are the target keywords for the different, whatever. And then here you got compliance and environmental responsibility, right? So arborist, commercial trees, whatever that is, forest consulting services. And here you got for emergency and storm prep, right? So your brush clearing, uh, some of these seem like they fall in the same thing. Tree planting, tree care, wood chipping. Yeah, so it kind of gives you the different pillar categories or main categories to go after. And here's your consultation and strategies. Here's for aesthetics, so making your golf course look pretty. Here's for the member experience and landscaping. So now you want your landscaping to look amazing for the people that show up to play golf with their little pinky out, drinking their little sweet tea with an umbrella in it, stuff like that. So it helps to
Yeah.
put in your pillars, right? Now, granted, this one, we were doing this based off of a golf course manager for tree trimming. So it's all geared towards that person. But yeah.
Right. So adding the persona in, and this is something we're considering as we build out that train AI button,
Mm-hmm.
maybe to leave personas out or to give you guys the option, right? If you want a persona or not, because if you get something with a persona, it's going to make things more specific, customized, personalized. If you go without a persona, it's going to make things more generalized. And there's nothing wrong with either one of those strategies. You just have to be cognitive and aware of why you might want to choose one over the other. Well,
So that's my theory.
I think it's a great theory. I think
What
4.0 is
about
fantastic.
Yeah. Let's see. How do I unhide?
See, and you can do all the fancy pivot table stuff to this too and make this a real beautiful campaign document.
Yeah. These are what cracked me up though. So it's like pulling, I think what it's doing here, right? I think it's using the, I forget which report it is, but like tells the most words, right, that are used the most. Does that make sense? Which one is that?
Yeah.
Signature? No, I don't remember which one it is, but
The Matrix, probably.
yeah, I don't remember. But like here, marriage especially become as stock dog perform natural lead water behavior. Throw that one on your website and tell me how it goes.
Yeah, I mean
That's awesome.
that's a bunch of stuff we got to hammer out right there. That should not be a suggestion, but we live and we learn. That's
Yeah,
I think it's nice that people can see that we're not perfect people either because
yeah.
we've
So
been
I've
at this a
got,
long time and every day things always change on us. And we can be jealous of Susan because Susan has the nicest document of everybody. So we're gonna get it more like Susan for you. We can all say thank you to Susan. You're just seeing what words it might have pulled from an analysis.
yeah. I'm trying to see which file it is. I don't remember. It's not
I
persona.
think you're looking for well, personas picks up those words, adds them all
4,
together. I think that's what you're looking
6.
for.
Yeah, but where's my other thing?
You're in perspectives, buddy. And that one's analysis.
I don't
You
know.
need the personas file. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
it's
tab.
picking up these weird. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we might just have to tell it to ignore the
Ignore the attributes person and just do personas from here,
or
possibly.
just explain that it's not in logical order. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's like do appearance golf course maintaining managers with fire hazard officers prevention reducing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
pulled. Yeah, it's just funny.
Well, we'll smooth that out. But
Yeah.
those are those are the bots. Those are what we're working on these days. So that's why we need more of you people in the vector prompt library trying these things because once we crack a code, we're real close. Once we
Oh
crack a
yeah, for
code,
sure.
then we can deploy unlimited number of bots that can do very specific tasks. And then I think the promise, it's not here yet, but the idea that companies like OpenAI are doing workflows, or we can go to a Make, or we can go to an N8N, or we can go to an automation type platform and maybe call upon each of these bots. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's coming. And then you'll be
Yep.
able to sequence them. And so then imagine for people who want the automation, we set up, 10 or 15 very specialized bots and they take care of one thing they're really good at. We got one bot that comes up with the article's title, one that categorizes it into the right pillar category, right? And you train each bot at each step of the way to be an expert and you just daisy chain them so that we just click and drag our information in and then the bots all talk to each other and we get pure magic at the end of the rainbow. That's what we're hoping for. And
Now I'm
we're
just playing.
closer every day. By all means, play. I mean, it was what you asked me for.
Mm-hmm. Or segment. Let's do segment in a
And I can
separate
always
column.
put this in our members area too to play with once it's ready. I could do a little bit more work on
Mm-hmm.
it, but then I'll put it in there. I'm going to put in the other one I showed last week too, the video one, because I'm still
Yeah.
working on that and trying to get kinks out. But I would love feedback if anybody's doing image prompting or video prompting. It's amazing.
It's interesting. So see how it tells me it's number 12, number 48, number 104. I
Yeah.
bet if I go to the personas thing or wherever that's pulling from, it's column 104 or something. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm. That is weird.
because it segmented it based on awareness stage. So it's segmenting these different
I got my
assumptions.
wires crossed is what I got going on here, Rob.
So, yep. Okay. Well, sounds good, boss man. Yeah, I'm excited about these. Like we said, we've got some that we're way closer than others, so it'll be good. But okay, all well, that does it for tonight. Again, sorry for the confusion on the webinar thing. I'm going to reach out to Carter and try to get that sorted, but we'll get her knocked out, and we will see you guys next week. You guys have a good one. Later. I'm just signing off, brother. I thought you were
It's
over me.
fine. No, I didn't mean to
So,
cut off that fast, so I was just saying goodbye because I didn't mean
oh, yeah.
to drop out. But goodbye.
Yep. See you guys later.
All right, have a good week, everybody.